Tommy, why are we comparing a Volkswagen Jetta to a Subaru WRX?
Because they compete in so many ways, and in today's video, I'm giving you the top 5 reasons why they go head to head.
Well, Tom, you're gonna have to convince me because I don't think people cross shop these two cars, but all right, go for it.
Number 5, these two are very close when it comes to price. There are a ton of different trims of WRX, but the base one starts at $33,690 after destination, and the Volkswagen is only available in one configuration, comes in at about $35,000. Now, it is worth noting the WRX is actually both cheaper and more expensive than the GLI. So on the base trim, you're a little bit less than this Volkswagen, but if you get a top spec TS, you could be spending as much as $47,000.
All right, so what's number 4?
Now, on the face of it, these engines are pretty different because the Subaru uses a Boxer 4-cylinder. This is the FA24 2.4 liter turbo, makes 271 horsepower, which is quite a bit more than the Volkswagen.
Yeah, this one makes 228. What about torque?
Well, that's where things are interesting because the torque number is identical at 258 pound-feet. So that EA888 makes the same torque as the 2.4 in the Subaru.
All right, but mine's a 2-liter turbo with a 6-speed manual.
That's right, and the Subaru still available with a 6-speed manual, as this car is, but of course with the Subaru you get standard all-wheel drive versus the Volkswagen, which only comes in front-wheel drive.
All right, well, let's take them for a ride and get to number 3.
Number 3 is the fact that they are both manual transmissions.
And what manual this car has, Tommy, I gotta tell you, I have forgotten just how good a car can be when you actually engage with it, when you can feel the mechanics of the car, when you're controlling it, when you're one with it. This is such a delightful automobile.
It is, and I think that this engine pairs really well with the manual transmission. It's actually pretty good because the EA888 makes a lot of torque down low, but then it doesn't completely run out of steam in the upper RPM, so you can really interact with this engine in a fun way. But the one thing I will give it as a knock is it is a pretty loose manual transmission.
It's a little loosey-goosey, it's a little sloppy, but beggars can't be choosers, my man.
Yeah, the sad reality though is that this transmission is going away. You know, Steve, who is loaning us his car from Garnet, said that he's got something like 30 or 40 hidden in his dealerships, and then that's it. Right?
But it's more than just a transmission. It's also the way the car goes down the road. There is a quality about this that I think we have lost when we have switched to electric cars, and that is this ability to be both sporty and comfortable, to be both utilitarian and extremely fun to drive. This just combines it all in one package.
And I think that the Jetta has a perfectly tuned ride in the GLI. It is so comfortable on a daily basis. Maybe a little bit soft if you're pushing it around some turns, but it's got great body control all around. So it just is the perfect balance of fun to drive, but yet still super usable.
Yeah, I took us into the mountains, Tommy, and I was so impressed at just how well this does, even at over 5,000 feet above sea level. There's something about small displacement turbos that pairs so well with high altitude. And I know a lot of you guys, live at sea level, and that doesn't mean anything, but at sea level, you just end up with more power.
I don't think that this car is quite as sharp as a GTI. It never has been, but because you can get this with a stick, I would take this every single day over the week. Plus, it's older than the Golf, which means you get the older infotainment system, which is way better than the new one.
Yeah, so I would say up to about 80, I'm taking some turns here in a rather spirited manner, I would say up to about 80% this car is extremely neutral. It's very forgiving. It's easy to briskly drive around these turns. Above 80, it starts to push a little bit. In other words, you start getting a little bit of understeer. You can start to feel that it's a front engine car that's front wheel drive.
Yeah.
But up to that point, which is I think a point that most of us will never even achieve on most roads, this thing is just sublime.
And when you take it out of sport mode, the whole car just shuts up. I know it's augmenting the sound a little bit, but it really quiets down. You get 30-some MPG in this thing. I've got the MPG number, and it's unbelievable.
Well, I got 41 when I went up to the mountains.
So officially, it's rated at 29 combined, 36 highway, but you can pretty easily, if you're nice to it, get mid-30s. I mean, it is such a great combination of fun, efficient, and livable.
Yeah, and there's a lot to be said for the brakes as well. They're so linear. You just feel like you can control it with like your brain as opposed to your toe, right? It's one of these cars where there's a direct connection between what you're trying to do and what the car does, and that gives me so much driving joy.
So now we're in the Subaru, and first thing first, this power delivery is so different. So whereas that Volkswagen makes a lot of torque way down low, this Subaru really rewards you for winding it out. There's the power. Feel that? So it doesn't really come on until like 4,500. It's very old school in that way.
Yeah, it's more of a sports car. I think the ride is also much firmer.
For sure, yeah, definitely. And actually I think the steering might be a little bit better as well. But what's so funny is without some of that engine augmentation, you really don't hear a lot out of that engine, at least with stock exhaust, right?
Yeah, you know, I've been kind of making the argument that these two don't compete. To me, this competes much more directly with like a GTI.
Does it, or a Golf R?
Yeah, man, Golf R, all-wheel drive, yeah. It's certainly a much more appropriate Colorado car.
For sure, with all-wheel drive, definitely means that this is a true four-season car. Now, in terms of modification potential, because that is a big deal to some people, people really do modify the wheels off these Subarus, and you can make a ton of power, and there's a huge modification community.
Yeah, but so does Cobb for Volkswagen.
Yeah, and there's a whole world around that too, but I think there's potentially more you can do with the WRX, especially with the all-wheel drive. You can just put down power a lot better with the Subaru than the Jetta. But as a daily driver, I think that this is quite a bit less comfortable and refined compared to the Volkswagen.
Yeah, it also doesn't feel as, let's call it, I wouldn't call it refined. I think it feels rawer than the Volkswagen. Let's call it more juvenile. This is certainly a more youthful car, whereas the GLI kind of resonates with me more.
Gotcha. No, I mean, I think in some ways the driving dynamics of this resonate with me a little bit more. I like that the engine's kind of peaky up high, because it means that you do want to rev it out, right? There's a big reward to have this thing way up in the RPM range, but it desperately needs an exhaust. It is so quiet.
Yeah, and it also feels a little bit less premium. There's just a lot more plastic in here. It feels darker. It also feels smaller.
It does feel
because
tighter.
It is smaller, yeah.
Yeah. What about the seats? Do you like the Volkswagen seats more?
I like the Volkswagen seats more.
I like the Volkswagen seats more too. Now, it's kind of hard to compare because the person we got this car from put in a short throw STI shifter in this, which is brilliant. It feels so much better than the Volkswagen, but it's also aftermarket. So it's not really fair to compare. But the clutch feels maybe a little bit more progressive in the Subaru than the Volkswagen, but the steering is really the big improvement. I think that this older school, I think this is still a hydraulic power steering setup, is better in the Volkswagen.
What about the brakes?
Brakes are about the same.
Okay.
Yeah, they both feel good.
Now I'm going to have a little throwdown here for Subaru. Bring back the STI, for God's sakes. We saw one. We were just in Tokyo last year at the motor show, and they had one there. Where is it? Let's actually take it up a notch. Let's go Golf R to STI. I mean, that would be a direct comparison.
Oh, 100%. That would be really, really, really cool. And yeah, I mean, in 271 horsepower, obviously more than the Volkswagen.
You can tell.
But yeah, you can tell it's faster, but not anywhere near a Golf R, and it just needs it. It'd be so cool.
Yeah, I suppose a best way to look at this is, you know, if you're under 30, this is probably the car for you. If you're over 30, the GLI might be more your speed, but they're both great.
And number two, you guessed it, they're both sedans. The WRX has been a sedan now for the past 13 years. As a sedan only, it's got 12.5 cubic feet worth of space in the back, which is a little bit less than the 14 in the Volkswagen. Speaking of which...
they're both sedans, Tommy, but I think that the Jetta is actually bigger. It's got a lot more room.
Well, it's about 3 inches longer than the Subaru, so a little bit longer, a little bit more trunk space. This is the comfier trunk for sure.
Well, let's sit in the back seat, because to me, this one seems like there's a boat ton of room in the back. You know, the Jetta has always been known for one thing, Tommy. What do you think that is?
Not being quite as good as the GTI.
No, no. Back seat legroom, and you can see it in this car. I'm kind of sitting, you know, very comfortably. I've got headroom, I've got knee room, I've got shoulder room. This is just a boat ton of room back here. I think all 3 inches of this thing's added length are in the back seat.
You know, you say that, but wait till you see the Subaru.
I gotta hand it to you, Tommy. There is plenty of legroom in the back of the WRX, but the headroom is pretty tight.
Yeah, that's true, but I will say it does have a hump in the middle that seems to be potentially even smaller than the Volkswagen, which is crazy because this is sending power to the rear axle as well.
You don't have a sunroof. Guess how much that is?
I don't know how much.
$1,800, over $1,800. And if this had a sunroof, this would actually be more expensive than the Jetta.
That's true, but for $1,800, you also get the premium audio. So, you know, there's just kind of a give and take thing.
Tell me, what do you think of the Jetta's interior?
It's pretty nice, actually. I like the seats, especially with the two-tone contrast stitching. I think looks really, really good. I mean, it's a little black in here. There's not a ton of contrast, but the steering wheel feels great. The screen's pretty easy to use. It still has a 2-button setup instead of the modern Volkswagen system. And as a whole, I think they did a really nice job with the integration.
Yeah, some of the stuff is haptic. Don't love that. But they haven't gone crazy with it like they have done with some of their more modern cars. I do love these real buttons on the steering wheel. And the steering wheel is really traditional German, so nice and thick. Very easy to use it because it's round, Tommy. What a concept, a round steering wheel.
It's not round. It's got a flat bottom.
Well, that's okay. It's when it gets the squircle. That's basically meant for racers once upon a time to get in and out of their race cars. But the one thing I don't like are all these, funny little buttons.
The blank spaces, yeah. I also hate the electronic parking brake. So that's my biggest miss. But from a usability standpoint, it's very simple and easy to figure out in here.
And it does make a difference when you go into sports mode. They both have a lot of plastics, Tommy. I think the Subaru feels a little bit more plasticky. A little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's like a lot of the materials aren't quite as nice as what you're going to find in the Volkswagen, although the screen is bigger and it's also exceptionally easy to use. So you got these kind of big widgets that you can cycle through, and I think that it's very simple in its operation. In some ways, it's even a little bit better than the Volkswagen because the buttons are hard controls, not haptic. But the overall interior does definitely feel cheaper than the GLI.
How about the steering wheel? I think that one especially feels a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, definitely. And nothing you touch in here really interacts quite as good as the way the Volkswagen does, but I love the physical gauges. I think that's really cool. I love the boost pressure gauge, especially in the center of the screen. And I actually like that more than the digital instrumentation in the GLI.
Yeah, I also love this little big red start engine button. I think that's nice. And
I think that's aftermarket.
Is it?
Yeah, I think Zach.
You think Zach put it in
there? Yeah.
I also like the fact that this is not aftermarket, that there are no fake buttons around the shift lever.
That's true, yeah. And Zach has done a couple things to spruce it up in here, like the orange Subaru logo.
Yeah, you'll never forget you're in WRX.
WRX, I think, is nice. But yeah, I mean, Subaru definitely should have done some of the stuff from the factory because it is a little dour in here.
Tom, you almost have me convinced, but what's the number one reason these indeed do compete?
Well, these are kind of a dying breed. There's not a lot of fun, affordable, practical cars. This is the last of its kind. Manual transmission, all-wheel drive.
What about the GR Corolla?
I mean, yeah, but that's technically a hatchback, and this is a more traditional sedan.
And this is the last manual Volkswagen, I can't believe I'm saying that you can buy. So yeah, I can see that these do indeed compete. But where do we get the Subaru?
Well, if you'll notice something, this really cool orange is not actually available in 2026. This is our producer Zach's car, so big thank you to Zach for letting us use his WRX for this video. And the fact of the matter is that WRX hasn't really changed that much since this car was new in 2022.
So let us know in the comments below, do you think that these two actually do compete, or was my initial premise correct that you don't really cross-shop these? As always, check out alltfl.com.
And we'll see you in the next video.
Ciao.
Now, in case you're wondering what's changed from when this car was new at launch to the new 2026 WRX, it's really not that much. There's some badging differences front and back. There's some things on the inside, like they've changed up USB-A. You can now get USB-C, faster charging, wireless CarPlay. You can't get orange, but you can get Galaxy Purple now, which is cool. So there are some trim differences and some subtle design elements, but fundamentally, the car is so similar to how it was a few years ago.